aka Joe Latte, over to you. That's coming up on today's show. WhatsApp number 055-556-1034. My guests are seated, and they are both lawyers. And we love them on Mondays and Tuesdays. But for an interesting reason, our Tuesday man has been brought to come and feel us on Monday. His name is Anokye Frimpong, lawyer and historian. Mr. Frimpong, good morning. Good to have you here.
Good morning.
This whole year, have we met?
Oh, a lot of times.
But still, happy New Year to you. And Dr. Anane Gyinde is a corporate governance expert. He's a lawyer and a law lecturer as well. The whole year we haven't met until today, so happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much, Kafui.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
What's on your mind this morning?
Well, a few things. Just to say good morning to my people at Kintampo, first and foremost, and wish you a Merry Christmas and then a Happy New Year, all the team. We are most grateful for giving us this opportunity to also come and speak our mind. And I was in my village, New Longro. I have a house there, but it's empty. So when I got there, I got a delegation from a number of Chinese that they wanted to come and rent that house.
Chinese people?
Chinese people.
Okay.
And I asked them, what do you do? That they were coming to do galamsey.
Oh, they told you this?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My house is in Bruno East, but they were going to do the galamsey in the northern region, Savannah, just at the backyard of the Minister for Natural Resources, Abu Jinapo.
But they wanted you to use.
They wanted to come and use my house
as a headquarters.
As a for their accommodation, for office, whatever.
Oh, they'll launch from your house into the northern region.
They are already there.
Oh.
I asked them, they say, yeah, they have all the documentation. So I'm just wondering, all the fight we are waging against galamsey, but the people are still giving licenses. I thought at a point they told us that we should suspend all these licenses. So I'm not sure whether the regional minister is not aware. I'm not sure whether the DC, Bole Bamboy, DC, I don't think he's not aware of all this. She's a very good friend of mine. Actually, when I was doing my PhD, I used to lodge in a house in London before I moved on to Guildford. But, you know, I tried to reach her. You know, most appointees in government, you can be the best of friends. The moment they get the appointment, you call the door pick. So someone will ask, oh, why are you not telling your friends, Vero, Alele, and then you are saying it on television? Because I cannot reach her. I cannot reach her. So I'm wondering who get the permit. The Chinese who are now operating in Bambwe, Banang, Kwanta, that enclave. They told me that they've gotten the license to come and operate. But I told them, I'm sorry. I'm not going to give you my house to come and engage in an activity which I consider illegal. So the Minister for Natural Resources, my junior brother Abu Jinapo, wake up. The Regional Minister Savannah, wake up. The DC for Bole, wake up. Because a lot of things are going on there. In that enclave, Banang, Kwanta, Bamboy, Joboy, along the Black Volta. I remember there are a lot of communities downstream. So when they come and they pollute the waters upstream, what are our people going to do? Meanwhile, government is not providing our people with potable water. The only water that we drink is the Black Volta. In case they pollute it, what are we going to do? So the minister, please, if he's asleep, he should wake up. DC, if you are sleeping on your job, wake up. Regional Minister, wake up.
That's the Gyinde alarm. They must wake up.
They must wake up.
I'm just curious, the Black Volta, does it look like this?
No. It's normal. Okay. It's still very clean.
It's not like the Prague.
You know, they are using a lot of cyanide.
Cyanide?
And you know, it has some effect on the health of the people.
It's dangerous.
And then if you travel along the Black Volta from Bambwe downstream, there are a lot of villages, Kandige, Busema, Yara, Olongro, Babato, Chikma. There are a lot of communities along the Black Volta. So if we allow these Chinese to poison our only source of drinking water, what are our people going to do?
So when you told them no way, what did they do?
No, they said they were going to look for somewhere else. But I told them, but I've alerted the BNI guy.
Exactly so. They should follow them. Good. That's a good citizen who knows what he has to do to make sure that they say evil perpetrates when the good men stay silent. So I'm glad that you've used your voice to send out a message.
I hope they listen.
Yes. You were all asked to wake up. So if you heard your name, please wake up if you are sleeping. Or somebody should tell you that to wake up because they've told you that you need to wake up. Mr. Frimpong, good morning.
Good morning.
Again. Yes. What's on your mind this morning? Where are we going today?
Just the Constitution.
Okay.
Yeah, just about the Constitution. And my colleague talking about his area. and he's talking about nature. Reminds me of the constitutional development of this country. We had a Hugh Clifford Constitution in 1922. Then in 1925, Goggisberg brought about his own constitution. And for the first time, he introduced the Joint Provisional Council of Chiefs. And when the elite were complaining why no educated people there, in quote, but rather the chiefs, he said the chiefs are the natural leaders of the people. The land belongs to the chiefs. So if whatever you are doing is based on the land, there is no way you can leave out the chiefs in lawmaking, in all the things you are doing. And so I believe that the time comes when our chiefs, and when I say the time comes, it is today, our chiefs that have now been pushed away from politics, when Goggisberg, many years earlier, knew that they were so relevant for politics, I believe they are still relevant. So the idea that chiefs are above politics must be looked into. And that also means that the idea of an entity called the Council of State, Council of State is absolutely a non-starter. In the case of the chief, he is appointed, elected, nominated, and stood by his own people, and therefore he's so conscious and sensitive to the area he represents. In the case of the Council of State, they don't represent anybody apart from the president. Says that they are there to advise the president. For what? If the president qualifies to contest an election, then it means that man is sensible enough to rule the country, especially with his own cabinet. We have a big judiciary with him, the legislature, and then an extended executive. So what are you talking about? It is brains, because the fight against Galamsey, I believe that very equal partners. This is on my mind.
Okay. Well, chiefs, part of governance, they were there back in the past. What happened now? Issues of Council of State, Chinese looking for accommodation to go and do and these are some of the issues that we've brought up already. The WhatsApp number is 055-556-1034, 055-556-1034. Keep it clean, keep it temperate, and we'll read the messages at the right time. Remember, we do have a conversation with the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, Kathleen Addy, in the next hour, so you stick around for that. And of course, Jolate being honored by some gentlemen as an organization that you need to be part of that conversation. So, this news has been going around for quite a while, and some developments have happened to it. So, yesterday we saw excerpts of a video by a musician called Meek Mill. He's a Ghanaian musician, he's an African-American musician who came to town to perform over the Christmas, and he went to visit the president. And lo and behold, all we see is he has excerpts of his music video with footage from Jubilee House featuring seriously in the video. Ghanaians were not happy. A lot of people were not happy. The overwhelming majority of Ghanaians were wondering, how come somebody can just go to the Jubilee House and just take footage? I have been to the Jubilee House a few times, and your phone is always left at the gate. Yes, at the gate. But this is Meek Mill dropping F-bombs in his music. But we won't even talk about the F-bombs. Just the fact that the presidential lectern is being used, the presidential red carpet, and this is an excerpt from his video, about 40-something seconds. Now, a development to this is that the video has been deleted. I'm reading this from GhanaWeb.com, and just about 9 minutes ago, this story was posted. American rapper Meek Mill has deleted a promo video he posted on Instagram hours after he shared it with his followers on the platform and on Twitter. No reason has been given for the deletion, but it is widely believed that it is from backlash arising from the fact that portions of the viral video were shot in and around Jubilee House during his recent visit. The Twitter link that led to the Instagram reel is still up, but leads to a blank page. So in the said video, Mill is captured in different places at the presidency, from the frontage through the main corridors in the main conference hall, at a point positioned behind the presidential lectern, and later in a sitting area rapping. Social media users, especially on Twitter, were largely angered with what they described as a near desecration of the presidency, citing moral and security grounds. Influencers on the platform have also attracted tons of comments that are largely critical of government for allowing such sensitive areas to be filmed for a music video. Meek Mill Jubilee House, White House were in the top trends from Sunday evening through to this morning. It must be noted that a small portion of the commenters are justifying it, saying that it's not much of a big deal to have Meek Mill prancing up and down inside our Jubilee House. I had reason to comment last week that, look, the guy wasn't even that appropriately dressed to go and speak to the head of our nation. But that was one side. But for this, to see this video and see him just basically using the Jubilee House like a big movie set was really annoying and irritating to me. So I'm glad he's pulled it down. I want your thoughts on this, Dr. Gyinde. Who should be responsible for allowing this to happen?
Well, thank you very much, Kafui. First and foremost, when I saw it, I felt very offended as a Ghanaian. I felt very offended as a Ghanaian because just behind GBC here, the Netherlands embassy there, there's a big sign, no photography, even from outside. This is an embassy, not the seat of government. I don't think anybody can get close to the White House, even try to take pictures. Go to the American embassies, go to all the embassies here. You can't even get close.
Cantonments, you can't take photos.
So please, I think whoever decided that this guy should be allowed to take footages of our seat of government, I think the person should be brought to answer certain questions. Because in the first place, that area is a security zone.
Yeah.
And I've also been there a few times. They take your phone and everything, they take it away.
Exactly.
Then I ask myself, if I cannot have access to, if I cannot go with my phone, as a Ghanaian, why should a foreigner be allowed? You see, the whole thing is that Ghanaians, we've made ourselves so cheap that we respect foreigners, we accord them the respect that we don't give our own people. So what makes anybody think that this guy can take his whatever, go there and then video, and I, a Ghanaian, full-blooded Ghanaian, I cannot even take my phone inside. What is this? What are we doing to ourselves? So first and foremost, I think that those who are advising the president on matters of security, they should be brought to answer certain questions. And to quote my brother Kafui Dey, heads must roll. I'm done.
Mr. Frimpong.
Well, the same. You understand? If the president is the first gentleman of the land, then that house becomes the first house of the land. And I'm surprised that anybody at all, whether foreigner or Ghanaian, could be allowed into that place to take photographs, to make video. I believe that it is, as somebody said, it is a desecration of the highest order. And I believe that if Kafui Dey who said it, I would agree with him that it should be investigated thoroughly, because you cannot expect the president to be responsible for his own security and be responsible for that huge mansion. There are a lot of people responsible who allowed that thing to go on, and such people should be heavily reprimanded. And I was at an airport in Rome, the main airport in Rome. This was an airport used by everybody. I wanted to take pictures, and the police came to warn me. You know, you are talking about an airport used by everybody, every traveler, and then seller, whatever. They refused it. Now come to talk about a restricted place such as the presidency. In certain countries, in fact, Iran, most of the citizens of that country do not even know where the seat of government is located. No, many of them don't know where the president lives. And in the case of Ghana, it is so exposed as to say that somebody could get up, whether Ghanaian or foreigner, to go and record a video there. Please, it's completely wrong.
He's pulled the video down. That's the latest news we had. So, but he said the thing is that you will still have the footage.
No, whether having footage or
and some of the shots even look like drone shots. I don't know if my camera people can, but some of the shots look like they were taken. I mean, this is crazy.
No, William Shakespeare says, what has been done cannot be undone.
Yeah.
If you delete it, it does not mean you did not record it. Yes.
Who would be responsible for something like this? Chief of Staff?
The Chief of Staff is not the head of security. We have the head of security with an office in one of the floors over there. I believe he should be in charge of what is happening.
Yeah. I mean, Charlie, as the presidential lectern, I've been to programs where one day I mistakenly put my elbow, or I inadvertently put my elbow on the lectern. I said, hey, wow. And this is the man just chilling there as if he's in his cocktail bar, on the lectern.
Kafui, do you know, one day I went there for some reason, official reason.
Yes.
Anyway. And then before I could get well, when I got inside, the person who received me said, do you know, when you have just been told, the information is on my phone now, that when you go to GTV, you don't speak well of us. So I shouldn't have invited you here. And I also have responded to them that whatever he says is very national. He doesn't go and talk politics. He doesn't go and insult anybody. And he's a Ghanaian, and he's supposed to be here at this time. So if, as I sit here, I can be prevented more or less from entering that house.
So they didn't allow you to enter?
No, what I mean, I prevented, if there is the need to prevent me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't speak well of a particular government or party.
Yes.
How on earth would you allow somebody just going to do something for entertainment?
Yeah. So your thoughts on that? I would love to hear from you, 055 1034. But one of these days they'll invite you. I'm sure they'll allow you to go inside. Keep it coming in, 055 Let me go to gbcghanaonline.com. There was some movement in Tamale over the weekend, and I want just to bring your thoughts to that. We'll speak a little bit about Mr. Chemanting and the action he took on Friday. But thousands of youth joined the Fix the Country demonstration in Tamale. They want the Constitution revised. We are celebrating the Constitution today, and so they dressed in red. They demonstrated for a new constitution and accountability from political leaders. This was part of the Tamale phase of the Fix the Country nationwide demonstration. They held placards with diverse inscriptions to draw attention to government and lawmakers to revise the 1992 Constitution. Various inscriptions including Arise Ghana Youth for a New Generation, Justice for Ahmed Swale, the journalist who was killed, Repeal Article 71. This is where the remuneration and benefits for Article 71 holders is concerned. So many more. We are tired of being voting machines, among others. It was organized by Fix the Country conveners and affiliate youth groups, Activista Ghana, Northern Regional Youth Network, and Progressive Forces of Northern Ghana, led by Oliver Baka Vomawo, convener of the Fix the Country movement. So it also marked a climax of 10 weeks of on-ground mobilization and civic education by the Fix the Country group in the Northern region. Vomawo spoke to the youth, asked them to rally behind the cause to fight for justice, and they said the protest would send a signal to the government that citizens were suffering. So that's, if you go to gbcghanaonline.com, you will see the story there. You will see the pictures. The buck stops with the president. Gobe without responsibility won't save Ghana. Please leave our Gobe alone. Don't politicize our Gary and beans. But that's the story. That's what happened over the weekend. Dr. Gyinde, you are the corporate governance expert here. How do you tie this in with what's happening and then the general corporate governance of Ghana?
Well, I think first and foremost, let me wish all Ghanaians a happy Constitution Day. In 1992, we all decided that, constitutionalism was the way to go. And after a referendum on April 5th, we all agreed that, constitutional democracy is what is best for our country. And I must say, we're celebrating this day to remind ourselves of our collective commitment to uphold the principles of constitutionalism, which includes separation of powers and independent judiciary, rights of the citizens, and all that. We've all agreed. And also to remind ourselves that we do not need an unnecessary military intervention. What we want is an uninterrupted democratic evolution in our country. We've done that. And so far, the Constitution has served us well for the past 30 or so years. But I'm not saying that it does not have its weaknesses and defects. It has had some weaknesses. And with every law, it evolves with society. As the society continues to evolve, the law must also evolve in response to the changing needs and requirements of society. So as we sit here now, although the Constitution has served us very well, I believe that there are certain amendments that we need to make. I think between 2010 and 2016, there was a Constitutional Review Committee. They came out with their reports, then the government put a white paper on it, and then we did not say anything. We don't see anything apart from that. So for now, although the Constitution has served us well, these are the areas I want us to look at. First and foremost, Article 86. where it talks about national development planning, we should make it mandatory, or we should make it an entrenched provision, so that if we agreed on a national development plan, no government should be able to change it.
Exactly.
When there's a change of government. That's the first thing I want to look at. And also, we should be allowed to elect our local executive, MMDCs. If government or society thinks that I qualify to elect my president or my MP, why don't I qualify to elect my local representative, the MC or the DC? So we need to amend Article 55 and Article 243 so that we allow the local people to elect their own representatives at the local level. Whether it could be partisan or non-partisan, I don't have an idea now, but we should give the citizens the chance to elect their own local representatives. And Article 78, where the president is required to appoint most of his ministers from parliament, I think we should amend it. If you're a member of parliament, concentrate on your parliamentary work so that we can get people who also be ministers full time. Because even if we allow ministers to be part of parliament, it defeats the essence and purpose of the principle of separation of powers.
Exactly.
So we should separate them completely. Who gets want to be appointed?
Of course.
So in case he gets there, the best thing he does is to catch the attention of the president because of a ministerial appointment. In that case, our ministers who are also members of parliament cannot be very independent when it comes to criticizing their own government. So we should also look at that article 78. And then when it comes to the appointment of police chiefs, we should take the politics out of it by amending Article 203, 202 and 203, so that we make it that the longer you serve in the police service, it should be by progression, not by political appointment.
No.
Because the moment we do that, we politicize the security, our security agencies. This is what I think we should also be looking at. And my last recommendation, if we would listen, Article 71, office holders.
Yes.
We should amend it. Get an independent improvement commission that will look at it and then make it once and for all. We have a situation whenever there's a change of government comes, you appoint a commission, so it has become pat my back, you pat my back. Members of parliament, they approve what the president received, and then the president also approve what the members of parliament. You see, this thing, this constitution has, in the provisions that I've just mentioned, they've outlived their usefulness.
Does ex gratia come under?
All of this come under.
Because when I read news about Cletus Avoka not deciding to run again, and then also the majority leader also, all people were thinking of, this man, they chop ex gratia like 8 times.
8 times, yeah. And the last thing I want to look at
times.
is what my colleague mentioned, my learned colleague, the Council of State. Kafui, there are 31 members, and each of them takes home 35,000 a month.
Wow.
And they meet 4 times a year. Are we getting value for our money? And moreover, the people there, they don't need that money. Because these are people who have accomplished everything. Very successful business. They're very successful Ghanaians. So they don't need that money. So let's make it this way. If you want to be a member of Council of State, it should be on voluntary basis. I think we'll have a lot of Ghanaians who would volunteer to do that work instead of paying them. Because I think we are not doing any good to ourselves. And they are nearly 31, and then the president alone can appoint about 11 or 15.
And they are all on pension.
So I think these are the areas I think we should be looking at in terms of amending the constitution. And if we go along this way, I think it will help us. And for now, the constitution, it has served us well, but certain sections need to be looked at.
And it's 30 years.
30 years.
It's due for some changes.
It's due for some changes. Okay. But who is going to lead the charge in terms of the amendment?
That's the question.
That's the question.
Thank you so much. A lot of stuff for you to chew on, and I'm sure you'll be coming through with your messages on 055-556-1034. Let me switch over to my other panelist, Mr. Anokye Frimpong. Constitution J is 30 years of the 1992 Constitution. There was action in Tamale. They were protesting for various changes. You've heard what Dr. Gyinde has said about what his recommendations would be. You have spoken about the You don't need the Council of State. That's you. Are there other things that you would like to see?
Yes, certainly. Because if you go back to 1992 and pre-1992 period, you will discover that there was a long period of military rule. And everywhere in the world, transitional justice teaches us that the soldiers would never voluntarily leave power until they have been compelled to do so. And so the first constitution that is promulgated by the military regime is always a transitional constitution, especially in a situation whereby the military transform into politics, become politicians, and form their own party, Provisional National Defense Council to National Democratic Congress.
Yes.
It's only the P that has changed.
Yes.
So you will see that the constitution promulgated in 1992 would become a constitution that will serve their interests. What do I mean? They would need their ministers again, PNDC secretaries, transform into ministers, and then they would need a parliament that will be subservient to their aim and wishes, and then an executive that would also be allegiant to the president. And so you will see that the 1992 constitution gives the president unbridled power, too much power. And then the 1992 constitution also makes parliament smaller than the executive. What do I mean by that? The executive will prepare their own bills, whatever. And because they are ministers, they go down there to defend it and succeed. So all said and done, I believe that the constitution of 1992 has served us for 30 years. What we have forgotten possibly is the fact that it is still a transitional constitution. It is a military constitution. The time comes when we have to do a strict separation of powers, just as we had in 1979. In 1979, the only reason why the parliament of that day threw out Dr. George Bennett's budget was because of the fact that Parliament was not subservient to the executive. And so PNP MPs, together with the opposition, PFP, ACP, UNC, whatever, SDF, they came together and voted out the budget. And I believe we have to revisit it. This constitution must change. Secondly, because it's a transitional constitution, the military at that time needed a certain type of faces still on the judiciary bench to help them. And so you will see that the retirement age was extended to 70. Now the question is, if a doctor treating human beings at Kolebu or Tamale Hospital or Fiankwanta at the age of 60, when he has acquired a lot of experience, is supposed forcibly to go on retirement, why should his colleague on the bench stay there till the age of 70? Please, something must be done about that. At most, it should be 65. Now we don't have jobs, and so somebody to be there until 70, and he himself too, as a human being, it means you don't have any afterlife after pension. Is that what you want? I believe that it should be 60 across board for everybody. The VRA chief executive goes on pension 60 years. You too, Chief Justice, 60 years. Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, head, 60 years, go. Otherwise, if it is going to be 65 for everybody, but for 70, a certain category of people, I believe is completely wrong. And then also, I believe that the Constitution is wrong in not putting a seal, as to the appointment of judges. So Court of Appeal, Supreme Court, yes. So it means that today, a few days ago, judges were appointed, Court of Appeal and Supreme Court. You will see that now that Ghana is practicing the duopoly, President Mahama and his team would also be watching. And those who felt they should have been promoted to Court of Appeal and were not promoted will begin to think how to forge alliance with whoever will come. So, and because there is no seal, it is always a possibility. Let us not talk about MPP or NDC, but there must be a seal. And then I also believe that you don't need more than 100 people even to make laws for Ghana. No, you don't need that. Rather, what we need is that, life has become very complex, and so you need an educational qualification. maybe a first degree or master's degree to qualify you to become a parliamentary candidate. But we don't need a situation whereby MPP comes to power and then they want to create more constituencies. NDC comes to power, they want to... This has been a practice of the past. We need a new constitution that will say that you do not have more than, let's say, 200 constituencies, and some will be merged, and that will help to ensure that democracy is sustained. Then again, how come that the president has a term, just 2 terms, and then he goes away, and then parliamentary candidates do not have any term and can be there 4, 5, 6 times, up to 1,000 terms, for as long as you have the strength and the energy and the money and the money to do that. Please, it should also be 2 terms. And why I'm saying this is that when you go to most of the constituencies, people have developed, matured into politics, and always they have their own men. Unfortunately for them, those who ably qualify for them are people who are men of straw. They don't have money. And then there's certain parliament, maybe a minister, because we choose ministers from parliament. Yeah. So maybe a minister controls the executive, has also been in the house, he's got plenty money, and would always push you away. No, we need separation of power. We also need the fact that you cannot stand as an MP for more than 2 terms. And some people would argue that the more you stay there, the more you get experience. Let me tell you, the first parliament of the Fourth Republic, they didn't have opposition, they didn't have any experience, and they worked brilliantly well. The second parliament also worked brilliantly well. So I think these are the changes in addition to what face the country and my learned colleague are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let me just add one thing.
Yes, please go ahead.
It's about number of ministers. We should also put a cap.
Yes, certainly.
Because a country like Japan, 126 million, maximum ministers 19, because the law has put some restriction on the number of ministers you can appoint. Germany, 84 million people, their ministers are not more than 21. So we should also put a cap on how many ministers we can appoint.
How many do we have now?
I think about 80, 90.
No,
I'm
it's
not
more than that. It's getting
80, 90.
to 200. Oh, it's getting to 200. We have so many
About
ministers.
80, 90. So a country of 30 million, we don't need more than 30
Office
ministers.
of the president, we have several ministers there without portfolio. Yes.
But the official ones, I think they are between 80 and 90. But
it's a lot.
We don't need more than 30 ministers.
No,
a country of 30 million
if people are doing 21 for 86 million, why do we 30? We should also come down.
Well, I'm just being generous.
No, it should be 10. It's about 10. Yes, very core ones. Talk about education, health, agriculture, finance, defense, interior, trade. When you take these 7, these are the very, very core. Yeah. Then add some 3, to it. We need just about 10 ministers with deputy ministers, and that is all.
Okay,
and the country will work.
Talking of ministers, one has resigned. Last Friday, Mr. Alan Shrimanting resigned his position. The president has accepted his resignation. His last day will be the 16th of January, which is exactly a week from today. And already, people are thinking of a Shrimanting Bawumia ticket. I don't know whether they're jumping the gun. But what are your thoughts on that? I mean, how would that work? I mean, first of all, were you surprised that the trade minister resigned, Dr. Anane Gyinde?
Well, I think it's too late.
You think
it's too late? I expected it earlier.
You expected him to have resigned earlier?
He should have resigned earlier because you are a minister of state. We've given you a job to do, and you also have this presidential ambition. I think if you want to do both, you will not be fair to the people of Ghana, and then you don't also not be fair to yourself. So I expected him to have resigned earlier. But finally it has come. So I think it's a good step so that he can focus on his presidential ambition so that we can get somebody full-time to focus on the business of Ghana. So I think it's good, although to me it's been too late.
What do you think of the president appointing the finance minister as a caretaker minister of the trade and industry ministry?
I think these are 2 core ministries, finance and then trade and industry. These are 2 very critical ministries. So I think I don't think Honorable Chairman just got up one day and then told the president that he was resigned. I think there should have been some discussion or some engagement. So I was expecting that, well, maybe we should have gotten a substantive minister. But where the president is sitting, the information he has, I don't have that information. So I can't fault him. So he can be a caretaker minister till we get a substantive minister. But if I had my way, we would have just gotten a substantive minister after the Honorable Chiremanteng had left. But I'm not the president, so I don't know what informed his decision. And I cannot fault him for making the decision that he made.
Mr. Anokye Frimpong, what do you make of the trade minister's resignation and then the developments that followed after the resignation?
Yeah, let me talk about the development first. The appointment. I believe the minister has a deputy or two. So I believe one of them, the senior, should have been promoted to be the acting minister for trade. Come to talk about the minister for finance. He is the most criticized minister, and the ministry as well becomes the most criticized by Ghanaians. So people will believe that adding trade to finance would even make things worse, because at the time he had one portfolio, people were saying he was not that good for the job, and now you have added another portfolio, very complex one. So I believe that it's a very wrong step. It should have been one of the deputy ministers who has worked there for long, and therefore to be appointed to be the acting minister. In the case of Mr. Chiremanteng himself, I believe that he should have stayed till the end of the government. And the reason why I'm saying so is that, you started with them. You've been a minister for about 6 years. And when we talk about the Ministry of Trade under Chiremanteng, it is as ordinary as every ministry in Ghana. The Ministry of Trade is very, very ordinary. It's not exceptional. And I'm saying this because those of us who were growing up in the 70s knew a Champions of Operation Feed Yourself program. Colonel Frank George Benasco formed a political party, Action Congress Party, and prided himself with the fact that it was his own brainchild. He was the commissioner for agriculture at the time of the introduction of Operation Feed Yourself, which became widely known as something very successful in Africa. And so I was thinking that if Mr. Chiremanteng was staying at trade, every Ghanaian will single out trade as the best. Many years ago in the 80s, House of Folk was not doing well. And there was a player called Adofama. And the Kumasi people were saying, what I has ye Adofama film. It means that he was so good, so exceptional, that you cannot add him to House of Folk when you are condemning them. In the case of Mr. Chiremanteng, if he is listening to me, he should know no Ghanaian has ever come out to say, as for trade ministry, Chiremanteng has made it exceptional. Never. It is as ordinary as that. Secondly, as a politician, if you want to become a presidential candidate, I don't know that is the reason why he has continued to be there for up to 6 years. If that is so, you should know that always you are doing official work and you are out of touch with your own people. And 2 years is just too short for you to organize them, and especially to tell the people that you are different from this government whose policies have almost always been failing, blaming everything on Russian-Ukraine war and COVID-19 when other countries are not doing so. You are part of it. So what new thing do you have for Ghanaians? Thirdly, even when you are not resigning, I believe that you cannot take away talking from politics. There's a very placid person. When you say placid, I'm a very nice person, very good person, very humane, very gentle, and can be a pastor, can be a counselor, but not a politician. He doesn't like talking. He doesn't like expressing his views. He doesn't like calling the press for a conference saying that I'm not part of this and next time I will do that. No, he's away and above all these things. So I believe that resigning, he should join the gospel ministry and not into politics. I believe it will not help him. And if he gets the nod and he wins, it will not help the country.
Kafui, I have,
go ahead.
Listen, if you put two lawyers together, you get 3 different opinions.
Who is the third one? A spiritual?
So always we like to agree and disagree. Where I like to disagree with my learned friend is that he mentioned that Minister of Trade has been very tacit. I totally disagree with that, because I know under Alan Chairmantin, a lot of things have been done in respect of this one district, one factory. I know on record, 125 factories have been completed and are operational, and others are at various stages of completion. I went to my constituency, Kintampo. They are nearly completing the mango factory there. And if you go to Kintampo South, Krabonso, the ginger factory, they are nearly completing it. So to say that it has been placid and like any ordinary ministry, I totally disagree.
If I can react to that, please.
No, let me finish.
Okay.
And secondly, he mentioned the Russia-Ukraine war. Definitely, we cannot blame all our wars on the war, but we cannot also take that thing out. The reality is this. I have a friend who is a shipping agent in Germany. He ships containers to Ghana from all over the world. Before the Russia-Ukraine war, a 20-feet container was $1,600. Now it's $6,000 because of this Russia-Ukraine war. So you cannot take away that. My wife used to buy 1 liter of oil in Germany. It was 99 cents. After the Russia-Ukraine war, it's now €3.50. So these are the reality. These are the facts. So we cannot rule this Russia-Ukraine war out. And then the COVID, we cannot rule COVID also out. Because during COVID, planes were not coming. Hotels were not operating. Car rentals were not working. The revenue streams that government expected did not come. These are the realities. But I'm not saying that that should be the main reason why we are where we are. But you cannot also rule that one out.
Okay, please, let me
get your
2
point.
minutes. 2 minutes.
Yeah, because I also have something I'd like to say. Go ahead.
But I believe that, the one district, one factory, under it, all the factories, so-called factories that have been built are not the initiative of the government. You see, when you talk about the factories that were built in the First Republic and those built by General Champong, even a military dictator, they were national factories so that everybody can point at Kumasi Jute factory. Everybody can point at Ghana Rubber Estates Limited. You can point at Gihok. These ones are initiatives of families, individuals, and those people, sometimes they may not employ even 20 staff, not even 20. We are talking about a situation whereby government will set up a factory that can employ 500 people, 1,000 people, so that when your son completes school, he has a job. In the case of the nearly 200 factories coming under one district, one factory, they are family projects, and none of them is able to employ up to even 100. And so it does not, in fact, they are not able to solve unemployment problem. And the fact remains that they are not the initiative of the Ministry of Trade. They only help you to acquire, to clear your goods and then acquire land. It is your own initiative. Above that, when it comes to what you mentioned, Russia-Ukraine war, you will talk about Russia-Ukraine war and COVID-19 as part of our problems because we are an important economy.
Thank you.
Whatever we have here, we want to import. God has given you land, Greater Accra, there is a Volta region, Northern region. Every part of the country, we have arable land. You decide not to plant anything, and you are always importing rice, you are importing, edible oil, whatever Ghana is using, we are importing. So why would Russia-Ukraine war not affect you? I believe that Russia-Ukraine war should rather be an opportunity for you to do self-reliance, Operation Feed Yourself, and then we move on. And then the president would address the country next year and say that in the face of Russia-Ukraine war, this is the bumper harvest Ghana has been able to attain. That is what I'm looking at. Thank you.
You see?
You're welcome.
You see? We cannot also rule out the fact that...
Is this a fifth opinion?
No, it's not a fifth opinion. You see, what we face to realize is that the MPP as a party, they don't believe in a centralized state-controlled economy. So all the initiatives, nobody is making the claim that government put up those factories. It is private-public partnership. Looking at where the MPP is coming from, believing in this free market economy.
Is it working, Doc?
Excuse me?
Is it working?
Well, I think, at least, Kafui, you are a journalist.
Because Deng Xiaoping said it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white.
Wait.
Can it catch mice?
Wait. You see, before you come out with a policy, it is depending by what you believe as a political party. So they believe that their belief is that free market economy. So they are not going to intervene directly. So they will help individuals. They will partner with individuals to put up those factories. And I can tell you, all the state-owned enterprises that my colleague is talking about under Kwame Nkrumah, what happened to them? They've all collapsed.
After the coup.
They've all collapsed, and we also came and then we sold them.
After they didn't collapse under Kwame Nkrumah.
No, wait.
They created jobs.
Wait. They created jobs. But
Today you are
how effective were those factories?
All right, gentlemen. Let me get to the messages.
And let me just finish, Kafui.
30 seconds.
At least, if I cannot see anything at all, I buy a Kafui juice on the street every day. But the problem is, their Kafui juice, they are too expensive. That's the reality.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to read the messages right now. But just to let you know that in the Trade Ministry, they have 3 deputies.
That's it.
Okay.
There is Herbert Krapper, who is Deputy Minister responsible for international trade.
Okay.
There's Dokuya Esiamwa Ejay, who is responsible for MSMEs, medium and small scale enterprises. And then you have Michael Ochebefi, who is responsible for industry. So, in addition to the former minister, soon to be former minister, you have 4 ministers sitting in one ministry.
And all of them, all these portfolios could have been handled by one person.
One person.
You're talking about one responsible for industry. What is industry as opposed to medium and scale, as opposed to international trade?
Yeah.
They are all industry.
And then now the messages.
So that is why we need a cap. I was just reading, I just found out that, China has 1.4 billion people. And I was just reading yesterday before I went to sleep, the end of year message of the head of the Chinese Communist Party addressing the people of China. And he was congratulating the Chinese people for recording 19 successive years of bumper harvest.
Yes.
19 years, since 2004. There was no mention of COVID. In fact, in spite of COVID, they did this. They didn't even mention the Russia-Ukraine war.
No.
So if you have your stuff together, you can actually do things even if there are problems. And that's my point I wanted to just share with you. Messages, 055-556-1034. Samuel Kranti. I've watched this video severally. I've tried severally to find something positive out of it. So I'll just keep quiet. Please, don't come and tell me it puts Ghana on the map. Couldn't this have been done at the Black Star Square or Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum or something? This is the Meek Mill video of the man prancing around, dropping F-bombs like there was nobody's business inside Jubilee House. The video has been pulled down, but people are not happy, and rightly so. Rightly so. I agree the Constitution needs some form of amendment, particularly when the President and Vice President are out of the country. Speaker of Parliament has to be sworn in as President, even as the President is on official assignment. Well, thank you so much for that. And Anokye Frimpong. Alhaji Haruna Ashaiman, you want to suggest to the NDC to move the seat of government back to the Castle Osu to redeem the image of this country. This video going viral on social media is not good. It's not good. That's Alhaji. Thank you so much for your message. More messages coming in on 055-556-1034. Remember, these comments are your responsibility, not mine. This man is making a lot of sense. May Almighty Allah bless him. Who is the man? I think it's Dr. Gyinde. Yes, Dr. Gyinde is you. You're coming up there pretty soon. Oh, okay. And the lawyer. Mr. Anokye needs to be schooled about ID 1D1F. Government never said it will set up factories. St. Mark.
So that is it. So I'm not schooled on it. You are justifying what I said.
Honestly, the number of ministers in Ghana is too much. It's one of the biggest expenditures for the country. What do ministers need deputies for? Why the need for a deputy? And now, Tang family in Cheek. I will not be surprised if one day we see that one has been appointed as Minister of Dead Bodies. You guys are funny. GTV, good morning, GTV. I like your thoughts about the 1992 Constitution. Ministers are overpopulated. MPs too are overpopulated. I see the Parliament House as people who studied English at universities. They are there to speak English. That's why MPs who can't express themselves much in English don't talk in the House. I think there's a facility for you to speak whatever language you can speak, but it hasn't actually been used in Parliament. You say, what about Stoneboy and Shatawale? They've been there before. You people forgot about it. It's not about being there. Nobody shot a video in Jubilee House. Don't justify the unjustifiable. Please. Don't tell me about that. Beloved, it's good to be reminded of God's ability to answer and do all that you ask and request. Amen. In fact, I agree with Lawyer Gyinde. Amendment of the Constitution, it's required. Atimbila Pato, Kintapo North. Yes. Monica, Dr. Gyinde has made me sad this morning about what he said about the Chinese wanting to rent his house to do galamsey in the north. Question, Minerals Commission, did they give them the permit? I agree with the doctor that NIB must investigate. please check the salary figure you mentioned for Council of State members. They don't earn more than cabinet. We need to put up the correct figure if we choose to put it up. Okay, we'll do that for you. Your determination is bigger than any obstacle that comes your way. I've already seen you overcome so much. Keep going. Good morning, dear. Good morning back to you. Kaf, please. The Chinese have done what? Have taken a new dimension of business. They're using mobile loan apps to dupe Ghanaians, taking their personal information, calling people randomly to do business. Secondly, they will call you to be a middleman for powder selling, for the drilling of boreholes in Tamale. We're tired of the Chinese in Ghana. We need the Chinese out. Report whatever is illegal to the appropriate authorities so that they can deal with it. Good morning to you and your panelists. Nanado is, will Meek Mills do that? Will Meek Mills do that at White House? Good morning. Ghana is doomed. Okay, all right. Happy New Year, Meek Mills. What's he doing again? He will not even dare to shoot a music video at the U.S. Embassy in Ghana, in Accra, let alone White House. Well, the video has been dropped. The video has been dropped. He's pulled the video down, and basically that's the latest on the issue. I'd like to say thanks, gentlemen. I hope you enjoy your Constitution Day holiday with your family and your friends. And God willing, we meet again next week. Is that a deal? Inshallah.
Done.
Thank you so much. Gut, as they say in German. My